Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and I'm here with a very special episode this week. This time, some great recorded conversations from Workday Rising, which wrapped up in San Francisco. These conversations are featuring executives from General Electric and First American International. Both of the firms are joint customers between Workday for HCM and Ramco for global payroll. So it was great to sit down and talk to these two leaders, and I really appreciate the opportunity to learn from their transformation story, and I wanted to share that with the audience. So hopefully you'll enjoy these, and thank you to Ramco for arranging these. And thank you to both Karen and Bala for joining me on these conversations. I really had a great time. So look, hopefully you're able to check out our recent episode on updates for 4 of the major HCM technology events. We cover ADP Analyst Day, Workday Rising, SuccessFactors Success Connect, and of course, Ceridian, now Dayforce Insights 2023. So a lot of perspectives coming out of that. Julie and I were at a mix of those together, and we want to share what we're seeing in terms of product and direction and what's going on. So look, hopefully you get out to some events as well this year. We'd love to connect with you while we're out there, and certainly look for us on the road and look for new episodes, right? We've got more coming, more executive conversations. We've got a few topics that Julie and I want to cover here pretty soon. So stick with us, and we'll be back very soon.
Welcome. Awesome. Bala, so good to see you. Really appreciate it. It was great watching your presentation yesterday here at Rising. Let's do some quick introductions.
Sure.
Tell us, Bala Nagara, how do I say it?
Nagarajan is good.
Nagarajan, yes.
Yeah.
Executive Leader in People Operations at General Electric.
That's right.
GE, the GE.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a big fan. I want to talk about that a little bit, but tell me about your week so far at Rising. What's it been like? What have you noticed? What are you taking away so far?
It's fascinating, and I'm very impressed with the kind of investment Workday is doing in AI and their Workday platform itself, and that's going to greatly help companies that have their product to improve their employees. They're really putting the employees at the forefront of this, and that's great. Very exciting.
Yes.
I'm excited about the future.
Yeah, when I talk to a lot of executives around the market lately this year, I feel like the one thing that bubbles up a lot is productivity. Everybody wants to get that productivity out of their teams, out of their folks, and really uplift them. So I think that you're right. These augmentative capabilities are going to be tremendous. And I think back to my time as a practitioner, and I can't wait for it to all be here and everyone be using it, right? Because now we're really going to see the impacts. But so look, tell me a little bit about. I always ask this, like how did you end up in the HR world, and why do you stay around it?
Pete, in a lighthearted manner, one question I ask to any kid that I come across is, what do you want to become in life?
Yeah.
And I've heard like pilots and engineers, and doctors. Some of them even say, I want a dolphin trainer. But I've hardly come across a child that says, I want to be in HR,
right?
Right? So it's very inorganic that somebody moves into the HR world. Same thing. My dad is an engineer, and he said, you finish your engineering and decide what you want to do in life. So, and I did my engineering and went on to do my MBA. I had this option of majoring in another subject, which happened to be HR.
Nice.
Fell in love with the subject, great professors, and got some great career guidance very early, saying in engineering, systems thinking, someone who has the quantitative mindset is going to do really well in HR. Somebody had that foresight to give me that coaching, and I never looked back at it.
Yeah. And what keeps you there? Why do you stay?
Yeah, it's this fascinating combination of people and helping people, and able to do it with my lens of analytics and systems. I think that's what is giving me there. And the company like GE that gives you so much independence to try out new things, and a company that's really focused on people is really got me going.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah, it's such an area, you're right, where people don't grow up to want to be in payroll or HR, but thankfully they come, they stay, and we got some great talent. And so really happy to have you in the space. So look, I want to talk about GE. I as we were talking before we got on camera, I was telling you how I was influenced by GE executives early in my career at the Walt Disney Company, right? They helped some of the GE executives, former executives came in and helped us build a shared service center that to this day is still very much a part of the organization. And I learned so much from those executives, just Lean Six Sigma and just the approach to process improvement and continuous improvement and how shared services can be impactful. So I always had immense respect for the brand and the organization. But What's it like? I know you guys have been through a lot of evolutions. Tell me about GE today. Like, what's going on? I know you guys are, I want to say bifurcating. It's more trifurcating, I guess you could say. But that's a lot to undertake. Like, what's going on? What's that like?
No, very, very interesting and important question, because GE is a very critical company for the world in terms of solving some of the toughest, challenges that we have. And a couple of years back, our chairman announced that we will spin off two companies from GE, and eventually we'll be like three big companies. The first spin-off happened early this year with GE Healthcare spinning off, and then we are expecting one more spin-off, which will be our GE Vernova. That's going to happen sometime in early next year. Is what has been announced so far. And at the end of that, you're going to have three world-class leading organizations that are going to be very focused in their respective industries, and hopefully set us up for another 130 years of greatness.
Yeah, very much a blue chip organization in our economy. And yeah, it's, I've met a lot of great leaders, like I said, over the years in my career from GE, and yeah, just great admiration for it. So look, I was listening to your story yesterday, phenomenal story, Workday, core HR and Ramco payroll. And I just couldn't help but I was taking note yesterday of some of the outcomes. I mean, they're really impressive, right? You guys really moved the ball. But tell me about the journey, like to Workday and to Ramco, and what sort of was the state of GE when you guys took on that transformation approach,
Absolutely, Pete. See, like you observed, we believe a lot in continuous improvement. So a couple of years back, we had a strong HCM platform, which was at least 25 years old, very, very customized to our needs. And we had like 200 HR applications on top of it. But there were some inherent limitations because of a complex HR technology stack, right? Especially its impact on people and the digital experience that they were going through, processes that could be more efficient. And at that time, we were also thinking, how do we get the HR function to be much more strategic, try to move away from the transactional work. And also, we didn't want it to be, we wanted it more to be a partnership-based organization than a controlling organization. And having a strong, latest technology HCM platform was very important for us. And we went to Workday because it really spoke to our need of, consolidating our HR tech stack with the power of one. And that's been an incredible journey. I would say it was a very good transition for us. And, having that kind of a platform now serves as good when we are looking at, separating the company into three. Like, you need to have great systems.
This is William Tincup, and I'd like to direct you to a wonderful limited series podcast that Ryan and I recorded live at the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit. We sat down with 20 recruiting and TA leaders from around the world to hear what today's best recruiters are doing to stay sharp, stay relevant, and stay ahead. It's called The Talent Shift. You'll love it. You'll find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, like, review, share. Do you?
And at the same time, you need to have great partners. And I think that's where a company like Ramco is fantastic in terms of living with us. Starting from 2008, they've been supporting our payroll initially for one of the countries, and then now to about 20 countries is what they are doing payroll for us. And they have lived with us through this journey, starting with our earlier platform to transitioning to Workday, and now being part of this work of separating into three companies.
So they've really been with you along that path. So how much further is the runway for GE as far as all of this dynamic changes for them? Where's the end of that? Is there an end?
I wish there is never an end. Like Simon Sinek says,
perpetual transformation.
This is some games are like like short games, and then there is these games that keep going on, right? I wish GE is like that, right? We've always tried to reinvent ourselves, and now after 130 years, we've sort of reinvented ourselves, and this journey is going to go on. And our chairman believes a lot in continuous improvements, in being lean and humble. And I think those are the right traits, for a long journey ahead.
Yeah, you got to have that infinite mindset to make it. I think, it's pivot or perish now, right? You have to stay agile. And I think we're going to see more companies, as we were talking before about, about the big companies. I think are going to have to, some of them are going to need to reinvent themselves and think about different ways of doing things. But one of the things that jumped out at me yesterday when I was listening to your talk, and I thought that was a great turnout, and a lot of good. I could see the folks leaning into what you were talking about. So I think a lot of organizations are dealing with a lot of the same challenges, right? A mucky, sort of messy payroll process, or maybe many different vendors, which I know you guys got down to one from 30 to 40 or 30 or so, right? Vendors. That's incredible. That's incredible. But what's one of the things I think I hear a lot in my research is integration is a real challenge, even for some of the more what you call modern solutions don't always perform well when it comes to integration. But what's that been like for you guys as far as Ramco and your payroll and your core HR and being able to get, because the goal there is to activate your data. What's that been like for you guys?
A very important question, and somebody who has got a strong depth in payroll, I think you hit the nail on the head. These integrations can be very complex, and in a legacy platform, we actually had a middleware that we had to maintain and constantly, improve, to just move data from the HCM to the payroll platform of Ramco. Workday really does a great job with that. They have these PG format files that provide a constant feed into the Ramco system, and we have transitioned there. And there are also, point-to-points, customized reports that you can write in Workday that will make these interfaces much more, nimble. And if you end up using like a PG kind of an interface, then, the data flows directly into Ramco's, interface. So we can edit it.
Yeah.
So the good thing about PG is if you are using it, then the data can flow directly into Ramco's web services. And that way, a lot of the checks and balances get automatically, taken care of. And we do it on a daily basis. So at any given point of time, our payroll system through Ramco has the most updated information that is coming from Workday, and it's all done in a very secured manner. So I think that challenge has been solved very effectively by Ramco and Workday.
Yeah, that's great. And how has GE looked to activate that data? Are you guys how have you put it to use, right? Like what in terms of your HR operations, I mean, what do you guys do for that? Bit of background noise here. Yeah, when it comes to that data, right? Getting at that data is super valuable, right? It's one of the richest sets in the organization.
Yeah.
How are you guys using it? What are you able to do with it?
See, data is very critical. So the first thing is, we have worked on our Workday reporting so that, our reports or our dashboards are very customized to different personas. So we have got dashboards that are targeted for our people leaders, giving them the kind of dashboards that they would need, to look at on a regular basis. In the absence of a system like Workday, typically the people leader will have to call the HRM or someone in the HR team to say, hey, can you crunch this data
Get me a report.
Us? Yeah, exactly. And building reports and dashboards is, again, in my mind, a very transactional activity, right?
Yeah.
You want your HR partners to use the data rather than just crunch reports. I think that's a big first step, for us. And we have also trained, our HRMs in Workday on how to look at those dashboards and be good, HR business partners. So that's the first big step. We have also done a lot of work, in the predictive analytic, spaces, and that's really going to be the next frontier. In terms of using HR data.
Yeah, outstanding. Tell me a little bit about, the culture at GE when it comes to tech, particularly for HR. Like, how do you guys, what's your sort of approach, and how do you look at it, right? How do you deploy that stuff?
Yeah, I think thankfully, like you said, we have some of the best, leaders in my personal opinion. And I think we do technology with purpose, not technology for the sake of, technology. So it is important that we are really solving a problem, or we are really leveraging an opportunity instead of just saying, oh, there is AI, let's go and do something with AI, right? So I think that understanding the needs of our employees, of our people leaders, and then deploying technology against that is how I would see our HR functions, technology, culture. And we've never shied away from experimenting with new technology. And this whole initiative of moving into Workday is a great example of that.
It's a launch pad for more.
Absolutely.
It sounds like. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So along that lines, right? Generative AI was it's the big thing. It feels like everywhere we go. And this week it was really huge. And I think it's going to be very just profoundly impactful for frontline managers, employees, for HR. But how are you guys looking at it? Are you jumping in? Are you cautiously optimistic? Or are you taking it, how is the culture gonna look at this?
Hi, I'm Carmen Hudson. I'm the host of the Recruiting Book Club, and we're starting our second season. I'm so excited to bring to you another set of guests of recruiters who have written books. We are excited to have some very special guests this season. We've got Shally, we've got Craig Fisher, James Ellis, and quite a few other people that we're going to bring on board to tell us about what they wrote, why they wrote it, and maybe we'll veer off into a conversation about recruiting on all types of topics and subjects that happen in our industry. So I hope you can join us. I'm excited.
Hi, we're Meg and Amy from The Meg and Amy Show.
We're not only tech execs and big picture thinkers, we're also best friends.
We're curious learners. And on this podcast, we're challenging the status quo and activating the future.
And we're going to give advice about work and leadership, right, Meg?
We can't help ourselves. But this podcast is about exploring possibility, not being right.
That sounds refreshing.
For more, tune in to The Meg and Amy Show.
Yeah, I think right now, like I said, the focus is in ensuring that we stand up 3 world-class organizations. So a lot of the work that me and my team does is focused on that. But as we achieve that big goal, I would expect each of the businesses, to start taking some of these and really, leveraging the generative AI in the HR space. It is very, very important that in the HR area, data privacy is very, very critical. So we want to be very conscious of, what data we are using and why are we using it, and, have the right regulations around it. And the advantage of having a product like Workday with the right security layers on top of it is actually being a big protection, for us. So
guardrailing.
Yeah. Personally, I would say it makes sense for HR practitioners to use AI within the product instead of trying to take things out and doing it yourself, or worse than that, sending it out to some other generative AI software. That is a big risk, and I would caution any of the HR practitioners to not venture into that space, because there is a lot of interest, there is a lot of curiosity to experiment with it. But always we have to think about, the data protection aspects.
Yes. Go slow, I say, to go fast a lot of times. And I just listening this week, I think Workday does a great job of really trying to focus on that ethical, responsible, approach to this. And I think that's where they need to work with their customers to how do you digest it, right? How do you bring it into your org and get it done? So outstanding. I'd love to hear you guys are embracing and leaning into that stuff. So just to kind of round this out, what, if anything, in all of this is sort of your lessons learned that you'd share to folks that are on this journey or about to start this journey? What's your one thing you feel you learned you'd love to make sure people know?
I would say 2 things. One is whenever you're, moving into a technology or transforming yourself, be very clear about the purpose. What your organization is, what's the journey of the organization, what is the need of your employees, and then decide on what is the transformation or the technology change that you are going to adopt or do. I think that's big. Be very clear about the purpose, and then do it in a very humble manner. And lean things out before you put a technology. Because if your existing processes are redundant, any amount of technology on top of it is going to create more waste. Right?
So you're just moving a mess into a better technology.
Exactly. So understand your purpose is one, and number 2 is lean out your processes before you start adopting technology.
They're transformation, right? That's what we're really talking about, evolving past something else, something different. So I love it. And well, congratulations. It sounds like you guys are doing great, and I'm really happy for you. And enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm here with Kiran Bhatia, Manager of HRIS at First American International. Welcome. Great to finally sit down and talk to you. I'm excited to listen to your story. I know we've talked a little bit about it, but tell me a little bit about FAI. What's the culture like? What's the organization like? And what's going on there?
Absolutely. So First American in general is a very people-centric organization.
Yeah.
We proud ourselves on being the people-first culture. So definitely anything that we can do to improve that engagement with our resources, anything we can do to, help make life easier for our employees, we're definitely all in. So the culture is very focused around employees, very focused around employee development and growth. there. And yeah, the culture is also very adaptable to newer technologies, and anything that can make the overall processes efficient for the organization. The organization is very open to doing that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and in that industry, right, finance, right, fintech is absolutely going crazy, and I think there's so much disruption and opportunity. How much has that kind of trickled down to your business and started to change the way you guys do things?
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, from an organization perspective, I think we've started leveraging a lot of data.
Yeah.
AI is a big buzzword, so we are looking into what we can do, from all perspectives with regards to AI. Yeah, and overall, cloud computing in general, centralizing our cloud resources, that's another thing that we're looking. So yeah, overall, from a fintech perspective, I think wherever we can extract value given the tool set that we have in our hand, I think, that's always great.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your role and what you're in charge with at FAI. How you guys, I know you guys are Workday users, right? How's all that work? What's it like? What's your environment like?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role, I lead a team of Workday analysts and architects that are primarily responsible for building integrations, security, and a little bit of Prism data analytics. And I think what we can do there is, just help the organization in general with, whatever we can to consolidate and make the processes more efficient.
Yeah, outstanding. So what was the environment like before before Workday and before Ramco? You guys got together. What was that like? What was the experience like?
So we went live back in 2018 with Workday.
You're veterans of
this. Yes. And it was sort of a big bang approach where we tried deploying everything at once.
HR and payroll, or
everything in HR. Yeah.
Okay.
And we went live with Ramco in 2019, May, I would say. That's when we start leveraging the peak-off integration. And we've recently just moved from the peak-off to the peachy just a few months ago. So
very nice.
We've gained a lot of value just with that change.
Yeah. I talk about this a lot, but integration is huge, right? In this, especially payroll, it's the lifeblood of payroll. If that data can't move, it's kind of meaningless, right? And you want that real-time information that you can connect to your other data and really do some great things with the insights. But for you guys, what's the value of that data, and how do you activate that in your org? Like, what are you guys looking to do with it?
Yeah, so payroll is outsourced to Ramco in FAI, and that means payroll is being, the data that makes the data much more important. The process of transferring the data from Workday to Ramco becomes that much very important and critical. So what we have done is with this connect specifically is we've reduced a lot of manual processes that the FAI team was doing there. Just to give you an example, specifically around the time tracking data.
Yes.
So with the peak-off, we had just one file with both payroll and time tracking data. With the PG, we have the option of sending time tracking data in a separate file.
Right.
Much more detailed data. All of those processes that were being handled manually by the FAI team, running manual reports, uploading manually to the SFTP so that Ramco can consume that data. All of that has now been automated.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's one of the things I think has plagued payroll for a long time, especially that build to growth side of payroll, where the data coming in for time, for some companies, that's a bear. Like, that's the heavy lift in payroll. So yeah, it's great when you can get all of that brought together in an automated, fashion, and bring that stuff together is just phenomenal. But what other outcomes have you guys seen from modernizing payroll and HR in your organization? And what are you guys looking at sort of next to say, hey, we want to target this next hurdle?
Absolutely. So I think the next big thing would be to incorporate AI into our mechanism somehow, right?
Yeah.
Maybe build faster integrations, more scalable processes using AI. That would be the next big thing. But I think the most value that we've gained is when you have, the power of one, most modules in one system, talking to one another. I think a lot of value has been gained there as well.
Yeah. How do you guys, how from a cultural perspective do you guys look at tech? When, you talk about AI, right? Generative, there's a lot of...
What happens when employees behave badly? Boy, we could do an entire TV show, maybe a Netflix special on that. Well, Ryan and I sat down and recorded episodes for FAMA, and we asked practitioners, give us your most outrageous story. The sales leader that brings cocaine to work, whatever. Just bring us the outrageous, and it is funny. So if you need a laugh, which we all do from time to time, search for Workplace Misconduct wherever you get your podcast, and you'll find it. And trust me, you will laugh and cry, but you'll definitely laugh. All right. Thank you.
So much opportunity, right? But it's also a little scary, right? It's nascent. There's security concerns. There's privacy. how does your organization looking at generative, and are you guys already thinking about how you can start to apply it, not just to HR, but your other part of your business as well?
Absolutely. So First American is very heavily invested in technology, and the AI being the next forefront of it. We are trying to explore what we can do with it right away. I think specifically with HR, I think we've learned a lot with Workday Extend in incorporating AI into their Orchestrate network. So we are looking forward to that, right? Just getting more adaptation of Workday Extend, and starting leveraging that from an HR perspective. I think from an organization perspective, they are looking at generative AI and seeing, if we create our own instance of AI, what value would it create for our real estate customers?
Yeah.
So definitely some work is being done there as well.
That's great. That's great. You mentioned Extend, right? Yes. I love that there is so much extensibility, connectivity, low code, no code, like just all of the simplified nature, the drag and drop of just being able to configure things, not configure is probably not the right word, but enable apps and solutions that offset gaps that may not be. I mean, look, no platform can have everything, right?
Right.
And we were talking yesterday about the example about access databases, right? There's always every big organization has somebody somewhere that's maintaining some access database bolted onto something. And I think that extensibility and the no code and the low code nature of the infrastructure now gives you the ability to be able to configure things without having to do this massive IT project kind of lift or get at data. Now it's much more at your fingertips for the end user. And so how are you guys going to look to use that? Is that something, I know you mentioned it, but like, what are some of the ways you'll use that?
Yeah, well, one big thing that we're looking to get out of it is, creating a culture where everybody feels comfortable using the technology. If we talk about the HRIS team in general, not everybody is a developer or comes from a technical background.
Right.
So with the low code,
especially in HR, right? We are trained in that very much.
Absolutely. So with the low code, no code scenario that Workday is pushing, I think it would help all sorts of architects and analysts to now take on the technical aspect as well, right? And just start building and churning out stuff for the organization. So
no, it's good stuff. It's very important. So what's kind of next for you guys with Workday, with Ramco? What's your roadmap for transformation internally? Where are you guys heading?
Yeah, so I mean, PT was the next big thing that we've just implemented. So I think from an overall landscape, Workday landscape, we would see, what are the modules we can possibly leverage at FAI, right? I think we are pretty heavily using Workday. There could still be some processes that could be automated using either Prism or Extend in the future. So the core focus would be on looking at processes where we can consolidate them or automate them using the toolset that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's outstanding. So what would you say, I love to have folks share their lessons learned. Like, what did you learn in this process of transformation that you would share that maybe it's not obvious to everyone? What are a couple of things you've picked up from this?
Yeah, I think the first thing is the purpose has to be very clear, right?
Yes.
Your objectives that what is the end goal or the end state that you're planning to drive towards, right?
Right.
That's one thing. And then I think the second most critical thing is maintaining a balance between what has to be automated versus what has to be manual. Right?
Yes.
Business would always push towards automating everything, but then you have to take a step back and just look at the value proposition there, right? And also look at the pros and cons. So I think that's very critical from my perspective to just whenever we have now different options. We have the native tool set that Workday provides, and now you have these new technologies like Workday Extend coming in.
Yes.
So when to use what is the capacity or the extent that you're going to be using one versus the other? I think those are very important questions that we have to consider whenever we are moving through that transformative journey.
Yeah. I think customers like you're going to need help with that, right? And I hope that's where Workday can lean in, and they've got great ethics, great focus on making sure this is done responsibly, right? This is powerful stuff. You got to make sure you're doing it the right way, and I think it's going to be important for organizations to look to them for guidance on how to most appropriately use these things. So outstanding stuff, man. So tell me, I always love to ask this. I wish I would have asked in the beginning. How in the world did you end up in the HR world, and what keeps you in it?
Absolutely.
Around
so I graduated as a computer engineer some time back, and I always wanted to do something that's not just coding or configuration. I wanted something that's both business facing as well as something that's very delved into technology. And that's when I discovered Workday, with the cloud computing at that time and everything, the power of one. all the modules being in one system. I think that was something that really, drove me towards as an intersection between technology and consulting. I thought that was a great avenue. And yeah, I've since been in this ecosystem. Almost 4 to 5 years back, I've joined FA. And I'm looking forward to continue this journey with them.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's a lot of folks overlook HR, and it really is a dynamic area. It's one of those that is growing, obviously. It's growing in importance. And I think too, it offers a world of opportunity, right? It's never the same, even though it is repetitive, it's never the same challenge every day. The organizations are always ebbing and flowing. And I think it's a fantastic world to come in and learn so much about an organization so fast, because it touches everything, right? It's so impactful. So I love to see organizations like yours, engaging that, this rich technology, putting it into action, and really, enabling their strategic path. So congratulations to you guys, and good luck on your continued journey. Thank you so much.
Nice,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You too.